This is quite a trip getting this stuff straightened out so we could videotape this at this point in time. So I'm going to do the best I can, whatever it is, helter-skelter. And because my memory is so bad, I'm going to partially read this story because it's kind of a cute story that happened when I was a little girl and my mother worked in Arizona. Arizona, my mother took me out to Arizona when I was about 5 or 6. And it was rough and tumbly and very much a desert. And I was kind of scared of the American Indians because I had lived here in the East for so long. I didn't know what Arizona was except cowboys and Indians. There were wealthy people that moved out to Tucson because of their health. And it was hot and dry, and most of the time it was like 110 in the shade, but you dealt with it at any rate. And I don't remember whether they had air conditioning at that time. I don't think so. Where Jane Ivankovich, my mother worked for Jane Ivankovich, and she was a wealthy lady that came to Arizona for her health. And she had bought a ranch out in the desert about 75 miles from Tombstone. And it was just a small ranch, but it had cacti all the way around the ranch. And the reason for that was, and we had a gun, because of the coyotes. And this was very barren out there, and there was nothing out there except coyotes howling at night and this little ranch with all the twigs around it. But there was a little gas station out there, and I used to run to the gas station every once in a while to get milk for my mother. And one time I remember coming back, I was scared out of my mind because I took Michael, the dog, who was a Springer Spaniel. And on the way coming back, I saw this coral snake across the dirt road that I was walking on. Scared me to bejesus. I ran all the way home from that scary snake. It's really, really terrified me. And sometimes I had to shake out my bedroom slippers because there were centipedes, scorpions, and all kinds of weird creatures that could bite you, and some of them were very lethal. And so I didn't like big tarantula. These were black furry things, and if they were caught in my bedroom slippers, it really scared me. Sometimes my mother let me spend the weekend with her at the ranch in town. I was boarded at a Catholic convent in Tucson, and my mother wanted to make sure that the nuns wouldn't turn me into a Catholic. I was 7 or 8 years old at the time, and the ranch was nice, and I liked the windmill in the front of the yard. I used to watch that. It was a very creaky old windmill. And years later, when I went to a craft fair in Bedford Village, I bought an etching of a windmill that looked just like that in Bedford Village, and I just was very fond of it at the time. Let me see what else we have here. Yeah, we had a pistol. My mother never used the pistol. We didn't need that. But when I think about coyotes now, I'm not particularly afraid of coyotes right now. Let's see, I told you about a business with the rain. Isn't this exciting? Don't you find this just hilarious? I hope it gets more interesting later on. Anyway, let's see. Okay, there were always an odd crew of characters to greet you. I'll explain each one to you who I'm talking to. There was Michael the dog, which I told you about. He was a lovely Springer Spaniel, and he belonged to Jane. This is the lady that owned the house. and that she was going to be married to this big banker in Tucson. And so we all had a part in taking care of this menagerie of these animals, which was the dog, the bunny, and the cat, and the duck. Oh, I was so shocked one time. Went out in the backyard. The walls were about 6 feet tall, and these were all stucco walls. And what did I find out there? Couldn't believe it. Right next to the wall was an egg. Not bun, but Ducky Duck had laid an egg, and my mother was going to cook it up, and she wanted to know if I wanted part of the not bun, but the Ducky Duck's egg. And I said, no way. I said, I don't want any kind of duck's egg. But my mother cooked it for Jana Vangovich, and she just loved it. It was absolutely wonderful. There wasn't much to do except that I had, my mother had rather, a little kitten, and she used to call it very distinguished name, Mew. And we had a duck, a Mallard Duck, and that was called Ducky Duck, so you can imagine. And then Michael, who was a Springer Spaniel, who was a very, very nice dog, but also he was afraid of Ambrose. Now, Ambrose was given to Jana Vangovich, the lady my mother worked for, by her fiance, and he gave Ambrose, who was a big, absolutely gorgeous swan, put in a big red heart-shaped cage, and Ambrose used to walk around the desert, but always was after the little Ducky Duck, which was the wild mallard. And that wasn't very nice, because he was a mean son of a bitch, I'll tell you. Besides living in that ranch out in the desert, Jana Vangovich also had a house in Tucson, a very old house, and it was very, very nice and old-fashioned. But the floors creaked like crazy. And what happened, you see, the bunny, my mother's bunny, who was named Bun Bun, such a very unusual name, Bun Bun would stomp its feet like this and shake the whole damn house when Bun Bun wanted to go out and do his business. So pound, pound, pound. And my mother would let the bunny out, and then the bunny would come back in. And that's how that went. But was so funny, because Michael, the dog, was terrified of the bunny. And my mother and I used to corner Michael and the dog together and scare the dog to bits, because the dog was scared of the bunny. And just to have this big dog be scared of the bunny was very funny. And one time my mother was in the kitchen, and Ducky Duck, quack, 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 quack. My mother finally went out with a broom, and she's chasing the little Ducky Duck, and the little Ducky Duck was going around the side of the ranch. And what did they find? My mother found Ambrose, walk, 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 was upside down, stuck on the cacti fence, and the little mallard saved that ugly, horrible duck's life by getting my mother's attention. He was just a plain old nasty duck. Jana Vangovich decided to have her wedding in her house in Tucson, this big old rambling, wonderful house. And so Bun Bun was there. The bunny, I'll tell you something, I never heard a bunny cry in my life. But the bunny sure cried when my mother was bathing the bunny with Chanel No. 5 in a big pink bow. She did not like it at all. She did not like it at all. So at any rate, Princess Anne wanted my mother to give the bunny to her to take back to Spain, and my mother wouldn't give her the bunny. But the bunny wandered all around and kept stomping its feet whenever it wanted something, because bunnies have big paws and they make a lot of noise. So never was a bunny so unhappy, because the bunny was being sprayed down with Chanel No. 5. Anyway, the Princess Anne wanted it, and my mother wouldn't sell the princess, and that was left at that. Mew was the cat that my aunt had given to my mother, and the cat's real name, my mother just cut it down because it made it easier to call the cat Mew, rather than Sir Thomas Rajaw the Didymus, Lords of Lord Shibley House, Gillitonshire, England, was the name of the cat, and the address and everything else in case the cat got lost, so that they could find the cat. And that was the name of the cat. But everybody called the cat Mew. So at any rate, then one time, oh God, my mother was beside herself because the gate was left open at the ranch. And when the gate was left open at the ranch, the cat and the dog and the bunny and the duck and everybody else got out. So what happened was that my mother let everybody know in the ranches around there, which was a 5-mile radius of the ranches around there, to go out and try and find Bun Bun, Mew, and Michael, the dog. So all the ranches and all the people went out to look for it, and they went over hill and dale. And at twilight, they finally came across Michael, because Michael was with my mother, and my mother said, Michael, go get Mew, go get Mew. So the dog tore off, and he went into the desert, and they found the cat and the bunny, and everybody were all safe and sound, because that was very dangerous out there to be out in the desert with all the coyotes. So that the duck and the bunny and the mommy and everybody came home safe and sound, and everybody was happy as a lark, and they all waddled off together, going to celebrate the wedding of Jane Evankovich's friend, Princess Anne.